Hi everyone, it's Lindy on here from Pink Whisper Designs. Today I thought we'd make a really fun little stitched cupcake pull tab card using some Lawn Fawn products. So let's go ahead and get started. So I'm going to go ahead and grab a couple of dies from this set, and we're going to be die cutting quite a few of those little hearts. And this is from the Stitched Cupcake die set from Lawn Fawn. We're going to be die cutting from the Strathmore Bristol Smooth 100-pound cardstock. And I'm going to be running these through my Sizzix Sidekick machine. And I'm going to cut 2 sets of the cupcakes. We're just going to use the glue tube to glue these together. And that's just going to make these a little bit thicker. So I'm going to layer these together, just making sure that I spend a little time lining those up. And now we're going to color these. And I'm just going to use my Distress Oxide inks in the Festive Berries and the Gathered Twigs. And I'm using the foam applicator, and I'm just going to brush that Festive Berries color on both sides. So I'm going to leave the center the lightest. And then I'm going to go around the whole thing just to make sure there's no white edges. So again, that center portion will stay the lightest. Now with the Gathered Twigs, I'm going to do the same type of thing here. I'm just going to bring the color in from each side and keep it a little darker on the sides and on the bottom. And again, going around the edges just to take away that white edge. Now I've gone ahead and die cut some of those hearts, and I'm going to go ahead and attach the frosting to the cupcake here. And I'm going to attach these little hearts to the cupcake as well. For right now, I'm just going to use my jewel picker, which has a sticky end on it, and I'm just going to use that to pick up all these little hearts. And later we'll be coming in and adding a little bit more to these hearts, but for right now we're just going to pop these on here. And then I'm using the Lawn Fawn glitter pen just to add a little bit of glitter to each of these hearts. That's just going to give them a little bit of a sparkle. Now I want those 2 little birds and that word bubble, and then we're going to use a sentiment here at the bottom. And this is from the Love Letters stamp set. We're going to be using Sending Love, but you could do Sending Smiles or Sending Thanks, whatever you want to do here. So I wanted to show you, this is the We Are Memory Keepers Mini Precision Press. And I'm just going to place a little bit of the Strathmore Bristol Smooth paper in there. And I've laid my stamps down, and you can see this works on a peg system. This is a stamp positioner. And when I press down, those little feet are spring-loaded. So I'm going to press down and pick up those images. And now I'm going to go ahead and ink those up using the VersaFine Onyx Black ink. Then I'm going to line that back up with those pegs and position it down, pressing down when I'm ready to stamp, and I'll get a nice image. Now, if I need to stamp it again, I can go ahead and re-ink it, and it will line up perfectly so I can get a second or third stamping just perfectly. So for the bottom here, I wanted to add a little sentiment in the word bubble. So I'm going to put that Sending Love in there. And I'm just going to line that up. Then I can position this grid over the top again, placing it down, picking up those stamps, and then inking that up again. And I do love this little size. I think this is going to be great for traveling. I travel a lot with my stamps and supplies to friends' houses to do crafting and to go to different shows and events. So I just love this. So now here I've just added a little bit of purple tape to my dies, and I'm going to go ahead and run these through my Sizzix Sidekick machine. For the coloring today, I'm going to be using the Zig Clean Color Real Brush pens, and this is the light pink. And I'm going to go all the way around the edges of this word bubble. And then I'm just going to use my blender pen, and I'm going to pull that color in towards the center. And these pens are a water-based marker, so using the blender pen or a water brush, whatever you prefer, you can just move that ink around. Now using orange, bright yellow, and yellow, I'm going to color in my little birdies here. And I'm using the light yellow and the yellow to do the bird, and then I'm going to be using the orange to do a little bit on the beak there. And again, I'm just bringing that color in towards the center, and then I'm using a little bit of that light pink on the cheeks. So some really simple coloring here. And for the beak, I'm just using that lighter color and then a little bit of the orange and pulling that out towards the tip of the beak there. So you can see those up close. Now, I'm going to grab this beautiful quilted backdrop die, and I'm going to run that through my die cutting machine. Now I've grabbed my foam pad and my Spellbinders tool in one, which has that little bristle brush on the end. So I'm going to flip my paper over, and this is going to make it really easy just to run that brush over all these little areas, and that'll pop out all those little pieces. And I'll give you the information for those tools down at the bottom. Now using Ballet slippers, I've cut a piece 4 1/4 by 5 1/2, and that's going to sit right behind this quilted backdrop. So I'm going to go ahead and place glue all over the back of this panel and attach these two together. So you can see that there. Now for the floor on our scene and for the little bit of trim work, I've cut this piece 4 1/4 by 1 1/4 inches, and this one is 4 1/4 by 1/4 of an inch. And this is again the Strathmore Bristol Smooth paper. And now I'm going to grab the Woodgrain backdrop stamp set, and I'm going to go ahead and place that in my Misty stamp positioner. I've inked it up with the Gathered Twigs Distress Oxide ink, and I'm going to go ahead and add a little bit more color to this. So I'm using the foam applicator tool, and I'm just going to apply a nice even color all the way around. And then I'm going to go around the edges of this, and where I'm going to keep it the darkest is where the trim work is going to meet that floor. Now I did grab the Weathered Wood Distress ink, and I meant to grab my Distress Oxide ink, but either one is fine. And I'm just going to add a little bit of kind of a grayish blue shadow along the edges of that trim work. And I'm going to have it a little darker where it meets the floor. So now I can go ahead and attach these to my card using my 1/4 inch double-sided tape. I'm going to remove the backing on the tape and attach these to my card panel here. And again, I want that darker area up towards the top on the flooring and towards the bottom on the trim work, kind of creating a shadow where those two meet. Now, I did go ahead and die cut 3 more of the little birds, and I colored those in because I decided to make this into a pull tab card. I wasn't originally going to, but I don't know, I just felt like something needed to be popping out from behind that little cupcake. So this is how the card is going to kind of go together. I'm just adding another little heart to that other little bird there. And now I'm going to grab the Lawn Fawn Let's Toast pull tab add-on die set. And I basically need all the pieces except for that little curved slot piece there. So with this piece, this is going to create the little notch in the top of my card. So I'm going to go ahead and attach that. I'm centering it on my card, and you basically want to just butt it up right against the top of this card panel. And then I'm going to run all of these pieces through my die cutting machine. And you can see that cut that little notch out. Now with this piece here, I'm going to follow these score lines there. I'm going to fold towards me and then away from me. I'm going to do the same thing on the other side, towards me and then away from me. That's going to create this little mechanism for the pull tab. I'm using my bone folder just to press those out, get a nice crease on that. Now I need to create the little slot for the mechanism here. So I'm just going to approximately determine about how long I need that slot to be to make sure that those little birds pop up above the cupcake here. Now this little mechanism is a little bit too thick or too wide, so I'm just going to trim a little bit of that excess off of it, and it'll still work just fine. So again, I'm just kind of determining where things need to be. I'm going to temporarily tape down this cupcake with a little bit of purple tape. And then I'm going to lay that mechanism kind of on top here just to see where it would be underneath. And then I'm just going to place this again just to kind of check and see where I want things to go here. And again, just adding a little bit more of that purple tape. And I'm going to go ahead and attach these little birds together. So I'm just going to kind of stack these up. And using glue is a little bit easier because if you need to move them around a little bit, you have a little bit of time to kind of slide those into place, because you do want to make sure that they will fit right behind that cupcake. And it is a small area that we're working with here. So now I'm just trying to determine how far those are going to pop up. And then I'm going to take a pencil and I'm just going to mark approximately where I think the top of that slot needs to be. So now I can move the cupcake out of my way and put that little pencil mark right in the center here. So I'm going to need to run it through twice. So I'm going to run it through one time. And I've done that here, and then I'm just going to use my little pick tool to poke that through. And then to get to that pencil line, I need to run that through again. So I'm just going to line that up with the little slot that we've already created. Tape that in place and run that through again. And you can make this as long as you need it to be. So just play around with that a little bit. And so now I have that ready to go. So I can slide the little tab mechanism in that slot here. And I'm going to use my mono glue tape from Tombow just to position these down. It is a permanent tape, but it also does allow you to remove it if you need to. So it's kind of easy to, if you decide to pop those off, you can easily pop them off. So I'm going to just position those down and then see if everything is working properly here. If not, I can always go back and make that slot a little bit longer. Everything looks good, so I'm going to go ahead and add some foam mounting tape. And I'm going to double this up. I want to make sure that it's up high enough to let those little birds slide in and out easily behind the cupcake. I'm going to cut some little thin strips. I just need a little bit of the tape on either side of the cupcake and then a little bit down towards the bottom. And the tape I put on the bottom will act as a little stopper as well. So I'm going to go ahead and just cut a little piece of that and run that across the bottom of the cupcake here. And you want to double check now to make sure that that's going to fit. So here's why I use that tape. I can pull this off quickly just to check and make sure it's going to be right behind the cupcake and it's going to slide up and down. So now I'm going to add a little glue to this just to make sure that it doesn't pop off the mechanism here. So I'm just going to add a little bit of glue and glue this down permanently now. And I'm going to let that sit and dry. So now that that's dry, I'm going to take this little tab, and this is for the back. This will keep that mechanism straight up and down. So I'm folding it on the score lines. I'm going to add a little bit of glue on that middle panel. Then I'm flipping the card over and I'm going to slide this, and I want to make sure that it is below that little notch that we've cut out. So again, this is going to keep everything lined up nice and straight. And then I'm going to go ahead and glue that little tab down as well. Now you could use tape here. if you don't want to worry about the glue being sticky. But I like to come in with my EK Success anti-static powder tool, and I'm just going to add that powder all over everything here just to make sure everything slides in and out nicely. Now if you do have any leftover adhesive from your purple tape or any glue you've put on, you want to make sure you remove all of that first and then add your anti-static powder. And I'm even going to add a little bit of that on the inside of the tape here just to make sure those little birds don't get stuck there. So I can remove the backing from my foam mounting tape here and position this down. Now I want to just double check the mechanism and make sure everything's working fine. And now I'm going to push it down all the way and trim off that excess. So you want to just make sure it's all the way down. And now remember, on my cupcake I put that foam mounting tape, so I have a little stopper there. So I'm just pressing it down, cutting off that excess. And now I want to stamp on this little tab. I want to stamp the word pull here. And this is from the Push Here stamp set. So I'm going to go ahead and ink that up with the VersaFine Onyx Black ink, and I'm going to stamp that. So now I'm going to fold that right along the score line and press that out with my bone folder. And then I'm just going to place some glue all around the inside of this little tab. And that's going to get glued right up at the top here. And I'm just going to let that set and dry. I can go ahead and place the rest of my little items on here. So I'm going to add the little birds and the word bubble, and I'm going to be using the foam mounting tape to attach these to my card. And I did use a double thickness of the tape just to make sure that they were up as high as that cupcake. So I doubled up the tape and then just placed a little chunk on the back of each of these items. I'm going to be using the Spring Fling 6x6 inch paper pack, and we're using that floral on the left. And then from this die set, I'm going to be using that larger circle. And this is from the small stitched circle Stackables dies. And I'm creating the rug for the scene, the rug that'll be on the wood floor here. So I just need a small piece of this. So I'm going to run that through my machine. And then I'm going to go back to the festive berries, and I'm going to just add a little bit of color all the way around this little rug, just to give it a little bit more depth. So now I can go ahead and use my glue and then attach this to the bottom of the card. Now using my Bunting Borders dies, I'm going to grab that one on a curve and that little one that has a heart cut out of it. And I'm going to be die cutting from the Sticky Note, the Mermaid, and the Ballet Slippers cardstock. So I've gone ahead and cut out that banner from those three colors. And then for the little heart portion of the banner, I'm going to go ahead and ink up some cardstock. And I'm using Festive Berries, and this is just some Bristol Smooth cardstock, so that I can cut those little add-on banners out of this cardstock. And I'm using mustard seed and then peacock feathers for the other two. And this is just going to create a little bit of a different color. I'm going to do a tone on tone here. So I'm going to go ahead and die cut all of those little banners, and I'm going to attach them. And you can see that up close, and you get that little bit of a tone on tone look. So now with those little pink hearts that were left over from die cutting those little banner pieces, I'm going to attach those to the insides of these little hearts here. Now for the card, I'm using paper bag cardstock, and this is again a 100-pound cardstock, and this card will measure 4 1/4 by 5 1/2, and that panel will fit right on top. So going back to the Let's Toast pull tab add-on set, I'm going to grab that die that cuts out that little notch, and I'm going to center it on my card. I'm going to butt it up right along the top edge of my card and run that through my die cutting machine. Now I can place this panel along the front of the card, and I'm going to place some Scotch foam mounting tape all around the back. I just want to make sure that that mechanism is not touching any of that tape. So now I'm going to line this up with my card and attach these two together. And that notch should line up as well on the inside of the card. And so now you have easy access to that little pull tab there. So now with these little banners, I'm going to go ahead and attach the yellow one first, and I'm just going to use glue for that. And then I'm just going to try to determine here where I want these other two banners to go. I want to make sure that it doesn't interfere with that mechanism there. So I want to make sure that it's high enough to not get in the way of that. And I did decide to add the pink one first. And with this one, I'm going to go ahead and add some foam mounting tape all along the back of this, so this will pop up a little bit. I'm removing the backing, and then I'm just going to center this one on the card. And I can cut away any excess there. And then with this last one, it's going to be overlapping the pink. So I want to make sure that I don't put any foam mounting tape there. I'm just going to put some glue there. So I'm going to put foam mounting tape on all of them except that second one on the left. I'm just going to add a little glue to that. So again, removing the backing, and then I'm going to just position that on the card. So again, keep in mind that mechanism, you want to make sure that you don't put anything in the way of that. So just think about that as you're doing the layout for your card. And now I can just cut away any excess I have here as well. So here's a closer look at today's card. If you want to see another pull tab card that I did last year, you can go to my blog at pinkwhisperdesigns.com, and you'll see one that I did with the cute little mailbox. So I hope you enjoyed today's video. If you did, please hit the like button and subscribe, and don't forget to visit me at pinkwhisperdesigns.com. As always, thank you so much, and have a great day. Bye-bye.